Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 116 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Solozo. Today, Kris and I are very, very excited about our guest because this is a super unique and exciting topic that we cannot wait to dig into. On with us is Diane Boerstler from AmazonSalesGuru.com, and she is a hypnotic Amazon copywriter. We can't wait to learn all about it. Diane, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you guys?
We are great. We cannot wait to talk about this.
We were talking before how excited we are about this, because this is a spot where when we create listings, a lot of us just, have somebody else do it and it looks good and we go on and that's it. But we don't put the time into it. So this is interesting. This is going to be good to hear.
This sounds very next level. So I can't wait to dig into it. But before we do, Diane, for all the people that are listening that don't know you, give us a little bit about your background, how you got into this very unique space that you're in.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my background originally was a combination. I was in sales, and then I was also a cross-categorical special education teacher. And so there's a lot of psychology that goes to that. And, you have to pay attention to people's subconscious cues and things like that. And so when my daughter was born 4 months early in, oh my God, I'm going to date myself, back in 2008, I decided to kind of start pairing this together and seeing what I could do. And I fell in love with writing hypnotic Amazon copy. I got my master's trainer certification in conversational hypnosis and NLP. And then I fell in love with it when I started helping. I was just writing sales copy, right? And there was this one gentleman named Will. And he said, okay, I have a big goal for you. My wife's having a baby in 3 months and I want to bring her home. And my heart just melted. And I was like, okay, great. So what are we doing? He's like, we're selling on Amazon. I'm like, well, what are we doing? And I think this was back in like 2011 or something like that, 2011, 2012. And so I was not only able to bring him home by writing high converting copy and like using all of my crazy hypnosis skills in his listing and on his images, but I was able to bring his wife home and then bring him home. And they now have 5 kids, I want to say. I mean, we've just kind of all stuck together, and I don't even know if they're selling. I think they've moved on to other ventures that are more spirituality based. But like that was kind of my first big marker, as I realized I've always had this passion for helping families, and especially helping families who are stuck in that, like we want to say 9 to 5, but really it's like 6 to 8, where you're just going nonstop, right? As a parent, and you're just trying to catch your breath and spend some actual quality time with your kids and be able to pay your bills and all of that. So that's what really got me started in this. On the Amazon side, because I saw it as a pathway where people could really it was relatively easy to figure out, and they could leverage it. And if they knew even a little bit about business, they could fill in the gaps, and I could fill in the sales side of that. So that's what got me going. And I'm still going.
Yeah. Well, you're spot on about anyone being able to get started in this business. You're talking to 2 of them that did that we were started about 2014. But I'm curious, so where did hypnosis come into the mix? Like, were you doing that previously? Was that something that you've studied a lot? What?
I studied it a lot. I'm master certified in it. And so one of the things, so I was one of these really weird kids, right? So I started my first business when I was 6 years old, and I used to like go around the neighbors' yards and, offer to pick up rocks for 5 cents a piece. We were dirt poor. I'm the oldest of 7 kids. My parents are great now, but we were so poor. Like not enough food poor. And so I was always looking for ways, to get jobs. And one day I saw the presidential election, all these debates, and I became obsessed with it. Like, well, they could have said this better and they could have said that better. And I was 8 years old, right? I was driving my mom up the wall. And so I went to the public library and I started looking at things like, how do people become president? How, like, what is persuasion? What's this whole, back then hypnosis was like this off to the side. Nobody talked about it. It was like witchcraft kind of thing, right? No offense to witchcraft, lovely, but like it was this thing. It was very taboo. And so I'd bring these books home from the library. My mom would get really mad, but I was obsessed with learning how to be persuasive. And then that turned into becoming obsessed with learning why some people are successful and some people are not, and how that all ties into mindset, which is how I got into the conversational hypnosis and NLP side of things, Neurolinguistic Programming, right? And when I first launched my copy business, it's actually still legally NLP hypno copy, because I wanted to be able to leverage what I learned in neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis to drop that subconscious barrier and provide that energy that people need to actually buy the best products, not just buy any product, but buy the best products where they feel safe, right? So that's kind of how that all got started. And then I've added, different things to that. And I think now our whole team all I want to say is like 26 people. And so they've all had to go through it. And, it's been quite the journey to get to where we are, but we really do continue to look for new ways to be persuasive, and, not just like everybody's always coming up with a new system, right? We're not really systemized. It's more, and this is kind of what I wanted to share today. One of the things we've realized is I have this crazy free training, right? I think it's like 16 videos long. And some people really get it and some people really struggle with it. And I was doing this mindset training this last weekend. Like I spent a whole weekend doing mindset training, which I absolutely love, right? With Jessica Carver, I believe is her name. And she is just one of the most inspirational women I've ever met. And she's very much like, you have the power to do anything and you can make this work. And you just have to shift your identity, right? And so suddenly I realized that a lot of why people are struggling is that the copy, it's not just that you have the skills and the assets and the knowledge, it's that you have to get into the super flow state for the copy to flow through you. And what you're putting out there on, like the words you're putting out there are meant not just to trigger emotions, they're meant to trigger energy, right? So the desire to buy is actually more of an energy than it is an emotion. And so when we're sitting there writing and we're really thinking about it, we get into super flow. And that's why so many people struggle with this, is because they're thinking so hard with their left brain and about the logical side. Like, I really need to make sure this is perfect and what words are going to convert. And of course we use that too, but a lot of it is like really tapping into that mental state of like, okay, where is my creative side? What do I need to tap into that? Do I need to go dance? Do I need to go cook something? Just taking the pressure off of being perfect with this and then getting into that state. And then everything else you've learned will kind of flow into that, right? So the copy flows through you, not just that you're writing things down based on what you did in a training.
So you can really read people then, like if you have a conversation with somebody, I think that's amazing, by the way, like getting people like understanding what they're thinking and it's like sales, like you're trying to get them to go where you want them to go without them really knowing that you're getting them there. And
yeah. It's helping people. It's helping people. Like if you're really like, think about the goodness, right? Like all the goodness that your product delivers to a person, whether it's something that you would think is obvious goodness, like a supplement where it helps them with joint pain, or whether or not it's something like somebody needs a wine rack because they're feeling bad about their small space and they haven't hit their goals yet to buy that beautiful home that they want. But this would make all the difference in terms of their lives. And we really think about every single product from that standpoint, right? Where it's like, okay, what kind of goodness is this delivering? How is this going to shift their life to a better level? Everything like from that wine rack down to like weed whacker string for someone who's embarrassed about their lawn. And I mean, it's just, we really do come from that, super flow, super passion level when we're doing this. And I think that where a lot of Amazon sellers struggle is they're not really excited about their products, right? They don't see how these products can change lives. And I understand that it's like, well, it's one of 8,000 products that someone can buy that delivers the same result. Okay, understandable, but yours is going to deliver the right result to the right person. And not only that, but if you do a really great job of sourcing something like for supplements that's clean, right? Or sourcing something that is, stands up behind like fair labor rights or things like that, that really is making a huge difference. And so I like to pour more energy into those products where people are, trying to do well by doing good, as opposed to just trying to sell something. And there's nothing wrong with money. I love money. I think I love money. Like I have the healthiest relationship with money out of anybody I know, because the more you make, the more you can give to others, right? The more you can do for the world. But seriously, like I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they're just not excited about their product and what it can do for people. They're not connected to it. And so they have to get really connected to that.
This is such a different approach than anybody would teach or does. I mean, I can tell you when I write listings, I'm so focused on making sure I have like all the right keywords in there. Which keywords am I trying to rank for? And
you do that too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how.
But I'm probably missing the flow. But I actually like what you're talking about, is if you just get yourself into the right mindset to just write about the product, you already know all that stuff. You've been researching the product for a month.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so if you just, that's an interesting approach. And then do you take that through the entire listing? Is that everything go like the title, the bullet points, the description, A+ content, infographics,
images? Yep. Yeah, it all has to be in alignment, right? So everything has to be in alignment. And that's actually a marketing term more than it is like, I'm a very, spiritual person, but that's like alignment for me means both the spiritual energy side of things and also the marketing side of things. So if you send traffic to a listing where you have one energy in the title and bullet points and a completely different energy in your images and graphics, and completely different energy in your A+ content, it's just like a sales page. It's not going to convert very well, right? Because what the energy that's going to attract one large group of people is going to repel others, right? So if you start getting super serious and I've seen people do this so many times, they have this playful fun, and this is just one like brand energy, one brand voice, right? They have this playful fun energy in their bullet points, and they're a little bit in their title, and they've got it on their main and auxiliary stack, right? But then you go to their A+ content, it's all like super serious, that it's like this, and you can still talk about studies, but you've completely changed your voice and your energy, and you can't do that or you're out of alignment, right? So you really need to be in alignment about why you're selling the product, what good it does for people in their lives, and then also like make sure that your copy's in alignment so it has that same energy throughout.
Let's start from scratch. Let's start from scratch. Dustin and I got a product that we want to launch, and in the traditional way is, use a tool somewhat, get the keywords that you want to go after, put them in on a readable title, and make sure you add some more keywords to the bullet points. But as far as like,
where'd you go?
Flow. As far as flow and energy, we don't even think about that stuff. So what would you do? What would you do to start out?
Okay, so first we always pull keywords. So keywords are important, obviously. But when I'm going through and I'm writing something, instead of actually looking at the keywords, right? First of all, I don't write I'll write the title, but then the title's going to be 100% different than what I start with, right? It's going to be 100% different. So I'll write the title with the keywords that it's supposed to have in it, right? And it's like, okay, here's the dry, like piece of toast with no juicy butter on it kind of title, right? That's not what the client's going to get. But I hope to God the client never sees that. That is absolutely scary. So I'll do that. And then I go through and I write the bullet points, right? When I'm writing the bullet points, I don't pay attention to the keywords at all. What I do is I naturally feel where a keyword could fit in, right? Let's say that it's wine rack. Okay. I just type in the word keyword in brackets, keyword, 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 keyword. And then I go back through and strategically place my keywords where they're gonna rank, right? So you can, I'm never gonna say you can't do something. For most human beings, unless they've done a lot of cross-brain integration and optimization, it's really challenging to come from the right brain where it's creative and the left brain at the same time, right? Your left brain can feed into your right brain in terms of the data becoming the creative copy, but in terms of trying to stop and think of which keyword do I use here? Which keyword do I use here? You are killing your flow, right? So go and put in brackets that say keyword, or just put in the word keyword and go through and strategically replace it. That way, at least you're getting all the keywords and you're supposed to anyway. You're writing the highest converting copy possible, and then go back and change your title and power it up, right? You still have the keywords in your title, but you want to power it up after you're really excited and in the flow for your listing. So, because the title is the first thing you see, right? And your images, right? You do image copy about that time too. And then I'll go after I've taken everything out of, like I've done the title and the bullet points, which I'm going to go back and change again. It's just who I am. I'm a power up kind of person, right? I'm always powering things up until I feel like there's like this feeling you get where it's like, okay, this is perfect. This is going to convert. I know this is exactly what we need to do. This is the right energy. It's the right flow, right alignment. Everything's perfect, right? People are going to feel this when they read it, right? They're going to feel that energy. They're going to feel the right emotion. And then I'll go on to the A+ EBC content. And the funny thing is that whenever I do that, I always find at least 2 or 3 things that I write in the A+ section that I can use to make the bullet points better. So it's kind of cyclical. It's not like A + B = C, right? You kind of go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you really feel so amazing about it. And the thing about Amazon sellers is, so like a lot of people feel amazing about it. Send it to a friend who would actually buy your product, the most critical friend that you have, okay, after you've done this. Because a lot of times we're speaking to ourselves and making ourselves feel good about a product, which is important. But what's even more important is that the person who is your target demographic, your psychographic, they're going to feel good about the product, and they're going to feel the energy, and they're going to want to buy it, right? So
This feels like a whole practice. Like it's going to be hard for like myself and Dustin to get excited about an automotive product because that's not the niche we're in. But like each category's got to be a different energy, right?
Yeah, although you can, just on that note, you can anchor excitement, right? So find some things you get really excited about and look up anchoring, like NLP anchoring, and anchor that. And you can actually transfer any emotion, feeling, or energy from one part of your life to anything else. So what I do is sometimes I'll get products that I'm like, oh, dear God, are you serious? Another okay, I've got to get excited. And I had these anchor points set on my body where it's like, okay, what kind of excitement do I need to feel right now energetically to get to the state where I'm like, I'm really excited about making sure that the right people get this product and buy this product and that it really changes their life, transforms them, however you want to say it. So you can anchor it.
I think that's talented. I think that's pretty talented to be able to like get your mind shift into that area so you can just get behind it and transfer all that energy into that listing. That's pretty talented.
It takes practice. It does take practice. It really does. But if someone's really passionate about it, I mean, that's why people like me exist, because some people are just like, I would rather be out, like I live on a lake, right? Like people are like, I was talking to someone yesterday, like I was still on Amazon, but I'd rather be out, on my Ski-Doo. And I was like, okay, great. So, you can outsource all of that, right? Like there are people available to do 100% of this. You don't have to learn a single thing about selling on Amazon. You can just have a business in a box, basically, at this point in time. There's so many people that are that good, who are that good at it. And they're like, so wait, I can make money and I can go ride my Ski-Doo. I'm like, well, the whole way to stay in flow is to do the things you enjoy the most. So if you don't like getting into the flow state of excitement, if writing words about automotive parts doesn't excite you, hand it off to somebody who does, because you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot if you start from that mindset of like, God, I really hate this. Don't do anything you hate. Seriously. Like if you don't want to do it, there's a million other things you'd rather be doing that can make you money. Like do that instead. Focus on those areas of your business and move the things you don't like to do off your plate. It's kind of entrepreneurship. I think it's like 201 or something, yeah, now you're making the money and now you get to look at like, what do I really hate about this business? How have I put myself in a cage and a trap and a job and calling it an entrepreneur, Like look at that and then maybe try to be, you guys seem really happy about selling on Amazon, but you would be shocked at the number of people who come to me and I'm like, I will buy your business because you are clearly so unhappy about selling on Amazon. You know what I mean? Like I will find you somebody to buy your business, whatever works, but oh my goodness. You need to go have a life and be happy somewhere. And I can just tell through emails, like their energy comes through. It's just like, I really hate this, but I said I was going to do this. And so now I'm going to do this and I'm going to make this work. And I'm like, that is the exact opposite energy of where you want to come from. You know what I mean? Like if you don't feel positive about it, don't do it. There's a million ways to make money. Go, you know what I mean? Like sell your Amazon business to somebody else, hand it over to someone who can scale it for you, sell it to somebody else, make a bunch of money and go open your Ski-Doo shop on the lake. Your Ski-Doo shop. You know what I mean?
Oh, everything you're saying is so spot on. It's all mindset. I mean, if you're negative about something, it's just never going to be fun. But I love what you talked about is tapping into the energy of what makes you happy, and you can bring that into what you're doing or what you're writing. That's fascinating. I'd love to expand because you keep bringing up NLP, and you said neurolinguistic. What is it? What does that mean? And explain it a little bit.
Neurolinguistic programming, right? So our brains, up until about 20 years ago, we believed that our brains were set in stone, right? You learn until a certain age, and then you couldn't learn as quickly anymore. There's still some of these myths floating around, right? But our brains are very pliable. They're very malleable. And so you can they actually control our entire body. And so you can, and this might sound really woo-woo to some people, but that's your thing. This is my thing, right? So you can actually go into your brain and shift around subconscious beliefs, different patterns, different meta programs. And this is all under NLP. And there's lots of it's not just NLP. There's lots of other different modalities you can look at. You can shift this around so that, for example, like you become naturally the person who's really good at writing sales copy and understanding how to speak to people's hearts and then confirm the logical side with their minds, right? You can shift your brain into doing that. And one of the ways of doing that is, changing the submodalities and anchors within your brain. So if you were, let's say my English teachers hated me because everything for me is persuasive. They hated me. They still, like, I'll go back to school sometimes. My school's like an hour and a half from here, and they'll still be like, hey. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, you suck at writing. I'm like, actually, I'm amazing at it. But, you're really good at prose and I'm really good at persuasion. And they absolutely hated that. So I had this deep-seated belief that I was awful at writing, right? So I would never share my writing with anybody. And suddenly people started asking me to write articles. And so I was writing articles and they were very persuasive. And people were paying me to do this. This is like 12 years ago, right? People were paying me to do this. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. So now I need to learn how to shift into this. I am the kind of woman, or I am the kind of man who is amazing at crafting high converting sales copy. I'm the kind of woman or man who's amazing at speaking to someone's heart. I am the kind of, or, however you identify. I know it's a big thing right now, however you identify. I am the kind of person who is amazing at doing this. And there's a lot of different techniques and tactics you can use to shift your identity, your beliefs. looking at capabilities, right? So what you feel you're capable of and what you feel you're not capable of, you can shift that. And then of course you can shift your environment. Now, most people get it wrong is they go to their environment first. They're like, well, if I get a cup of coffee and I sit down, which this does help if you can already write well and you're anchored to do this, right? This can be your flow process. But a lot of people think, well, this writer says you go get a cup of coffee and you sit down and you just start writing whatever comes to your mind. For a lot of people, that just doesn't work, right? That's not the creative side. That's not going to help them, right? So for me, it's like, okay, I have to get up, and if I'm not in the flow state, I have to find something else creative that I don't feel judged on, like dancing or cooking something amazing, right? And then shift over to that. But it kind of works from both sides. So you have to take the action, and you also have to do the subconscious reprogramming, right? So you can't just subconsciously reprogram and then not take the action, and you can't just take the action and be battling your subconscious mind 90% of the time, or you'll get somewhere, but it's going to be painful and you're going to hate it, So get into a state of something you love if you want to give it a shot.
I want to talk a little bit about the images, because that's where a lot of people they'll skip out on. They just don't put the time and effort into getting good images. But that's like the second most places people look at. What's your strategies? Which strategies on images?
So first of all, we just launched a whole, I don't know if you know this, but I've been testing. I went through 27 different graphic design teams in the last 4 months and spent $30,000 to bring two teams in-house that are absolutely amazing, right? So that's how important images are, okay? They're $30,000 of 25 wasted people and about 300 hours of wasted time important on my end. And I am all about conversion. So images are incredibly important. Now, in terms of what type of images you use in a series, it really just depends on the product. And I hate it when I know people hate it when I say that, but it really just depends on the product. There are some key things you always want to have in there, right? So you want to have not 10 images that show the transformation, not 7 images that show the transformation. You want to have a few images that show the transformation. If possible, sorry, my credit card alert thing just went off. Okay, I have $0 balance. Yay, $0 balance, I got paid. Okay, so you want to have, you want to pull, if you have reviews, that's great. You want to have at least one image that has reviews on it with, some kind of guarantee seal on it. You want to have a comparison chart for the people who are who feel emotionally pulled in, but are kind of emotionally stunted, and they need to logically justify it. So if you have a comparison chart, that really helps. On supplements, don't put the back of the bottle as your second image, right? You want people to be looking through your images to find that, especially on mobile where 48% of sales start. You want to sell them before you let them see what's in your product, okay? It's sell them first. So put that down below. I'm really big on videos right now. Those are important. Let's see here. A lot of power punch, you need powerful, punchy, short, specific, spicy, almost sensual copy on images. Okay. So I've seen people who have a gallon of texts, right? Mm-hmm. Which I can write a gallon of text, and I'm really, I'm actually better at that than I am at being I have to be really good about being powerful and punchy. Okay. So powerful, punchy, specific, sensual, spicy on those. What words, what 2 or 3 or 4 words are going to get straight to the heart of the matter when you're selling that product, right? That's what goes on your images. If you need to write a bunch of words, put it at the bottom of your image in a little box, because people always read below what's on it. They always read below an image. They'll read the headline and then what's below, just like they read the first and last bullet point, right? Which is why you do the superiority summary for your first bullet point, and you're, knock them off the fence, make sure they feel safe and that they're capable for your last bullet point, like your guaranteed, okay? So, but in terms of images, it just depends on the product. I see a lot of people who are look, I have 7 different angles of my product. This is so cool. And if it's a fashion item, that's not socks. If it's a fashion item, that makes total sense, right? If you have a designer purse, or, you want it to, you have a purse that you believe looks designer, you want to have multiple pictures and you want to have used pictures in there. But a lot of people fail to use the images to logically justify why someone's going to, why someone should make that purchase. Think about it. If you had to go, let's say you had to go tell your wife, right? Let's say you go spend, oh my gosh, $500 on a gym set or whatever, on new weights, okay? You have to go logically justify that to somebody. You're like, wait, I got these ones because of X, Y, and Z. You need the logical on there as well as the emotional to pull that particular person. So you're really selling more than one person, right?
That's an interesting concept right there to think about. Definitely selling to more than one person.
Always.
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way. You're
selling the not having an argument later, right? So between married couples, I don't know, it's been a long time since I was married, but between married couples, you're selling this thing where, you know, it's like you go buy something, and of course everybody has like their, you know, internal limit of like what feels safe when you talk about positioning and benefits and like what they'll buy based on how your product is positioned and how they feel about it. But then they forget that their spouse or their partner was not there, right? Same thing with businesses. They forget their business partner was not there at that moment. And so they're all excited and their spouse is like, I'm sorry, you did what? So one of the other things I do is try to imagine the worst possible scenario. Who's going to be ticked off at them when they buy this product for this price, especially on the premium products? And who's not behind them, and what do we need to tell them so they can tell that person to get that person behind them?
And are you doing anything differently in the A plus and the EBC? Like what's the strategy between the main photos and the EBC? What's separate? How do you separate that out?
So a lot of our main photos lately have actually been kind of micro miniaturized of the A plus EBC, especially when it comes to a product that has a lot of different features, right? So we do a lot in the supplement industry. We do a lot in the in like the health industry. So last week I wrapped up oh my goodness, what was it? It was like a finger SpO2 sensor, right? Another one was a blood pressure wrist cuff, things like that. And so our main image, our big, huge image in EBC that's really been making a difference, or A+, everybody goes back and forth, has been an all the features image, right? So we'll do like usually I use like a 5 to 6 block strategy for A+. And so I'll have the brand logo type banner at the top, and we always have a background on that. And then the copy on it has to be about the superiority of like, what's the one big reason or 2 big reasons why this person would buy this product instead of any other, right? It's about superior positioning, right? And then you can or not go down to description. It depends on the product. And then after that, we'll have an all the features image, right? Which has like lines or arrows that go out to different little pieces of copy that kind of pinpoint like, and talk about the benefits, the features, and the transformation, okay? Below that, generally I have something that focuses in on like, again, the superiority, but more explained. So for example, you know, the wrist cuff was something, or no, the finger sensor was something that went up to 100% SpO2 and it was medical grade. Even though it wasn't FDA approved, it was created under FDA and CE guidelines, right? So we more explain like the technological side of it. So anytime you can make something seem more high tech, but easier for the person to use at the same time, that's a good joiner in someone's subconscious mind, right? So we talk about a little more of the technical side of it. And then, you know, a lot of times down below that is just what else. The last one is always reserved for, or the last couple are reserved for, what else do they need to know? You know, is this going to be something that's going to make them feel good about their family, that they're going to do with their family? We just worked on a wooden train set like that, which is really cool. It's like when you can paint, right? I totally want to get one. You know, there was another one that we worked on that was like more about family, like bringing family together, like connecting and bonding with your kid, which is a mom of 5. I know that's relatively hard to do with the age span that I have, right? It's really crazy. So it's like, okay, who are these people's children? What age are they? And how do we need to show that they're connecting? And what is the outcome they're going to experience from this, right? So like one of my clients, one of my clients has a combustion kit, right? So it's like a science combustion kit for kids age 8+. They sent it to my house. I had no idea my kids were going to go that nuts. They wouldn't even eat dinner, but it wasn't that they wanted to bond with me. They all bonded together. And so I went back and I was like, okay, let's kind of reconsider this. Like, are you having sibling rivalry issues? Because these kids just want to get together and blow some stuff up, right? So this is like the way to frame this, okay? Sometimes we go, if it's something that has a lot of bonuses, and maybe I shouldn't call it bonuses, but some people call them bonuses, or a lot of add-ons to the product, we'll use the 3 or 4 boxes at the very bottom, right? And talk about those so people understand, they get the full picture. A lot of times we'll have an image that shows everything included. And if there's one main product with only like a few things that you really need that other people aren't including, we'll put that in a box in the top right-hand corner. It just, a lot of it is about, you know, doing this for 10+ years and knowing what works. So we're constantly testing and saying like, okay, you know, like what's working, what's not. Like 5 years ago, it was really funny. I was talking to one of my clients. They sell Asian skincare, right? And 5 years ago, everybody wanted to see polished, perfect looking skin. These women were definitely wearing makeup, and this is what was selling. And now what's selling is bare skin, very glowy, flaws shown, you know, like the real natural woman, like what she looks like, you know, like before she's airbrushed, right? And so it's funny, we've kind of been testing these things as we go along. Heavy makeup right now, that's one thing people should probably know. Heavy makeup, unless your demographic is 22 and under, is not selling. It's just not. Like we split test like crazy, and anybody wearing like heavy makeup, and I don't know if it's because people just don't want to wear makeup because it's so blessed hot outside. I don't know. But I really think it's a lot about like the positive body movement and things like that. Also using realistic models, we've tested that, and that's working a lot better. You know, and that doesn't mean that in a fitness thing that you use somebody who isn't fit. It means you use somebody who has a more normal body type that doesn't look like they walked off the runway in France. You know what I mean? You know, and you show things like, you know, a mom chasing your kids, because the number one reason, you know, women want to get fit is not just to look good with fewer clothes on. It's that they want to have the energy. They want to be able to, you know, like run after their kids and not feel like they're totally lame and they're wasting their kids' childhoods in front of devices. There's that guilt factor. Like, people don't feel guilty about not looking how they want. They feel self-conscious. But if you can get into someone's, and this is going to sound awful, but if you can layer on a little bit of mom guilt or dad guilt, you will watch your conversions go through the roof, right? It's just a simple fact, because they're like, oh my God, I'm a horrible, I didn't even think about that. But it's kind of, I kind of did in the back of my mind, but now it's like people are noticing. They know, you know, they know that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing with my kids. They see me sitting there eating a hot dog on the sidelines at the football game instead of out there, you know, coaching and clapping and cheering and, you know, so again.
Go ahead, Kris. I know you want to ask something. Good.
Well, we've been talking a lot about like on-page features. Is there anything that you do on the back end? Like, is there any areas on the back end that you focus on at all?
Oh my gosh. Well, Amazon likes to change that on us a lot. So we kind of started using more. So for example, like, you guys know what the new backend methods are compared to like 6 months ago, right? So we've kind of started referring people over to Facebook pages and other top groups to ask questions about backend, because, for example, okay, I had one client last week who still had subject matter in their backend, and I had another client who had 10 bullet points. Okay. So, so
it's pretty inconsistent.
It's inconsistent at best. And so that's very, very, what we're focused on is the conversion side of things, right? And keyword ranking is great, especially with these new buyer intent keywords. We've been working with buyer intent keywords. We call them competitive buyer analysis keywords for like 5 years. Okay. We knew this. We called it Amazon cycle of love. Okay. So we already knew all about that. So for us, it wasn't really a big shift, except for now people actually providing the data. We don't have to go through and hand pick it psychologically, which is what we've been doing for 5 years, is hand selecting keywords psychologically. Okay. Which is really nice, because now, you know, it's like, okay, great. A little bit more freedom on the copy side, a little more freedom on the keyword side, you know. But in terms of the back end, I mean, just try to, my biggest thing is like, follow 1 to 2, maybe 3 podcasts a week for the top Amazon sellers and the people who actually know what they're doing, who are in the field and in the market. And they'll tell you usually what to watch out for. And that's what I do. Right. And I'll say, okay, last week I heard that we no longer have subject matter. So what's the deal with your back end? Right. Well, AWI hasn't updated it yet. Okay, great. So just so you know, we're going to do this now, but it's not going to be effective in like a couple of months. Right. So let's focus on what really matters. I'm not saying telling you guys to, but I'm telling clients, like, what matters is conversions. Amazon loves you when you make them money. Okay. Amazon is a big giant search engine that loves to eat money. That's what they love, is money, right? Jeff Bezos is going to space. He loves money so much. He's probably going to look for more money. I'm just guessing, right? So, so I, you know, like, I would focus on the conversion side, and then go and, you know, like, you might have to break down each section in your back end and say, okay, well, you know, I still have these back end keywords, so I'm going to use them for now, knowing that I'm going to have to shift my strategy in 3 months. Amazon business is just like any other business. You are constantly going to have to pivot and shift your strategy as they make new rules, right? Until you're big enough that you get to tell them how to make the rules. And I have some clients who are big enough that they go to Amazon, they're like, I'm going to change my title, and you're going to unlock it now, because I have like 7 attorneys, and this is what my sales copywriter said. I don't care if it doesn't follow the brand guidelines. This is what's going to convert. You want to make money, right? And they're like, yeah, okay, great. So update my title. So it just, you know, I feel it's harder for the newer people starting out in terms of clout. But once you've been selling on Amazon for a while, it's a lot easier to kind of get them to more look at it from your perspective, I guess, you know, and update things the way they're supposed to.
So I'll try to see if I can get this right. Just like the overarching of what you're doing. And when you're creating the copy throughout the whole listing, is you're getting into the mindset of a specific buyer or whatever energy you feel towards the product. And that energy, when you start writing it, when you're in that flow, will really resonate with a certain segment of this product's buyers. Not all of them, like you said. You're going to resonate to the people that are in the same flow that you're in when you're writing it. So your conversion there will be sky high because you're talking directly to them. Am I right there?
That is correct. And other people fall into that funnel, right? So other people will feel a little bit of the excitement and still decide it's the best product from a logical standpoint. I think it's like 20%. And so you'll still have other people fall in. Just because you speak to one person and get one person excited doesn't mean other people don't get excited. That's just our methodology in terms of, writing copy is. And the other part is like copy as a therapist, right? So you want your copy to make them feel like they are understood, they're safe, they're capable, is a huge one. Like you know them, you understand what they're going through, right? So we kind of think of copy also as the Amazon copy is like if you had a sales page and you remember those long form sales pages, they still have them. They still convert like crazy. And a lot of it has to do with people feeling understood with the story, right? There's like the open nested loop. Like I was where you are now and I tried all these things and they sucked and failed. And, then I went and did research and I discovered this other thing. And now I've tried it and I've worked out all the kinks and this works even if, right? And when you're doing that, even if you're like knocking out their cape, like, okay, well, even if you are really bad at using a fork, this plate will still be awesome in your kitchen. I mean, that's a totally lame example, but you get the point, right? So people's biggest fear is their own incapability for a product to work. It's not that, it's not necessarily that that they're afraid the product's going to fail them. They're afraid they're going to fail with the product, right?
Oh yeah. It's interesting you bring up that long form. I get sucked into those every single time.
I love those.
If I
write those for fun still.
I'll scroll through Facebook and there'll be some ad and then it'll like expand. It goes forever. I'm like, and then I read the whole thing. I'm like, I can't believe I just read that whole thing.
Yeah, there's like an AI copy guy. There's like AI out there right now writing sales copy. And that's, I was actually talking to the team a little while ago. And I was like, this is kind of what it's missing is it's missing this emotional pull, This robot doesn't, even though it's analyzed like 80 billion bits or whatever, like it's not understanding this emotional side because what it's analyzing are their sales pages that could be complete and total crud, right? As opposed to going to like, if you want to understand your person, go read the forums when they're like crying so hard because they're so miserable that they're like ugly crying. Okay. You want to find like, read the forums, read the Facebook groups, read people's complaints, like get into their mindset of, I'm really struggling with this, right? Like I've tried everything and I don't know what to do. Or like my living room is so small and I freaking hate it. And I need something that when guests come over, I feel proud of this. Like, what do I do? People are like, get a wine rack, get a carpet, get it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not kidding. Go and read that stuff. If you like, and there are some people who are just, people say I'm very empathic, which is kind of funny to me because I always look at that word and laugh because I'm like, you mean empathetic? And they're like, no, you can literally read people's emotions, which in a way is very true. But anybody can read somebody's emotions. You just have to be able to go and like be willing to listen to them and kind of feel it. You know what I mean? So come from their struggle point and then be that excited friend who's sitting next to them at the bar and says, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, I totally get it. I was there too. And I've, like, here's what I used and here's why I love it. And, even if you're super stuck, make a list of all the things, write down things I love about this product, right? I love this. I love that it has this. I love that it does this. I love this. I love this. I love this. That is your sales copy right there without the I love. Okay. You can use some things we use love and like a lot of dog, cat listings and like obviously like dating books and things like that. We use the word love a lot, but just like if you get stuck, start writing that. Like, what are all the things you personally love about that product? Right? Why would you bother to start? And there are people who really are just looking at the profit side of things, and that's fine. That's where they hire people like me because they're like, I want you to make people love this product, but I could care less because my profit margin needs to be, 36%. Awesome. And so we can take that and say, well, if your ad spend's this and your conversions are this and this is and this and this and this is how you get 36%. Okay, this is who we're going to aim for. Okay, great. This is how we're going to position the product. We can take it from that direction too, but there's got to be something that got you excited about, like if you ordered, God, like I have this survival knife, right, in my purse, like this massive multi-tool, like 17 things come out of it. When I ordered that, I got really excited about ordering that, right? And I was thinking like, well, I wonder what the person got excited about when they were actually sourcing it. Because obviously it was not handmade in the United States. It came from China somewhere, right? So, so try to get excited about it. And if you can't get excited about it and you can't talk to your kid, if you have kids, your kids can get excited about anything. I mean, they're so good at being like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We're going to Disneyland. And then they'll be like, and there's an ice cream cone. Oh my God, like ice cream, very simple thing. Disneyland, very exciting. They can anchor those very quickly. Kids can get you in that spirit pretty quickly. So
you have something on your site here. I think it's really cool. And I want to talk about it and you can go more into it. It's It's your 10x revenue guarantee.
Oh yeah, 10x revenue guarantee. That's really not that hard to beat considering what we charge. I mean, if you're not doing that on Amazon after hiring a copywriter who's a high converting copywriter, you got a problem, right? Because the things that speak to people and make them buy your product are the words and the images and the words on the images, right? So if I couldn't guarantee it, why would I bother to do? I'm one of those people, like, I'm not going to put my time and energy into something I can't, that I don't believe, like, with total faith is going to have an awesome outcome. Okay. So there have been times, probably once or twice a year, I want to say, where someone will send me a product and it's just not something I want to touch. Okay. So like if it's an unclean product, right? So if it's loaded with just like health disruptors, if it's a supplement, they're like, oh, well, it'll be fine because this actually, even though we have these disruptors in it, the thing that we're giving them fixes it. I'm like, well, that sounds like the food industry and Coca-Cola paying to back somebody to, you know, say it's not sugar that's bad, fat's bad, right? I heard fat's not bad, just so we're all on the same page. Fat's not bad. Sugar's not good for you. But I mean, that's kind of how that feels, right? So the 10x guarantee stands there for people who are like, hey, I'm not sure if I want to make this investment. Okay, well, let's say you invest in, I think my biggest package is like $1,600 or something. And that's including my whole graphics team, the images, the A+ content images, unlimited edits, title, bullet points, keyword research, positioning, hypnotic anchors, all that fun stuff, right? So if someone comes to me and says, I didn't make $16,000 back in the next 6 months, like that means that I did a really crappy job, right? You should be able to make $16,000 on Amazon in 6 months. Otherwise, and there are minor exceptions, right? And I'll talk about this in a second. But otherwise, like, why are you selling on Amazon? Like, you can go pick up a side gig typing for, you know what I mean? Like on Fiverr for $16,000 in 6 months, and you won't pay anything, right? If you're just looking for a side gig. So there are some things where it does get a little bit tricky with the 10x guarantee, right? So sometimes I end up doing like a second listing for somebody, and I think this probably happens once every 2 to 3 years. The reason for that is because they have like this passion product, right? And they really want to sell it, but there's only a market of like 1,000 people a year for that product. That's not going to work, clearly, right? Obviously, I mean, and it's like, but they didn't source it. These are people who are like, I make homemade wooden, my friend Ty, I love him to be. He makes homemade wooden tables and dressers and things like that, and they're beautiful. But when he came to me, he's like, I want to sell on Amazon and I want you to write my listing. I was like, nope, I'm not touching that. You know, like, you need to be on Etsy, buddy. And that does happen too. People come to me and say, I want to sell on Amazon. And I'm like, no, you don't. You do not fit within this category. There's too much competition. Sales funnel. It's time for a sales funnel. You need a sales funnel, buddy. Or you need like, you know, a Shopify site or a big E site or, you know, something like that. Or eBay's looking pretty friendly for you right now, you know. I try to consult with my clients and lead them the right direction as well, not just write sales copy and then pass them off and be like, have a good life, right? So, because I feel like there's a lot more that goes into it when you're writing sales copy than just a sales copy. You have to understand you have to understand business, first of all, right? You have to be mature enough to have been through some serious stuff in your life to understand the pain that other people go through. You know, trying to solve a problem. You know, so there's like a maturity to it, but then there's also you know, after working with, I think 8,000 sellers now total, it's 8,000 clients, right? Yeah, 8,000 clients, because I have another part of the business where I work on the services side and like law of attraction coaching and things like that for people, right? Mindset coaching, obviously, all that fun stuff, where I write that copy. So sorry, I'm trying to remember, circle back where I was. So, you know, like you learn a lot along the way, right? And I've also taken a million programs. Like I have a background in creative finance. And so I understand if someone needs money, how to get them money. I understand how to buy a business with no money out of pocket. I have all my certifications from, you know, like 3 different major marketing companies in terms of, you know, advertising, in terms of Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and, you know, all that different stuff, right? And I stay up to date on that because what goes into your business, making sales is about a lot more than just words that convert. There's a whole lot that goes into that, right? And if you don't know how to pull one lever and make the water flow and make the marble move, right? All you're doing are writing words to people. You need to understand the whole process, where they're coming from, where they're going, what their goals are. There are a lot of companies, they're like, I call them, they're spot companies and they're brand companies, right? So people building a brand, right? The way you would write copy and the way you'd work with a company that's building a brand with multiple products that all solve similar problems or all in one particular niche, right? It's very different than the way you work with a person who's selling in like 7 different categories and just wants to make money, okay? So, and there's different strategies to grow those. The person who is in 7 different categories and doesn't have a brand is really trying to just maximize their profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to do the least amount of work possible for the most amount of profit. The person who's building a brand is like, okay, by, within 7 years, if I give it everything I've got for the greatest good of all involved, this or something better, I believe that we're going to be a household name, right? Not just that we're in all of the stores, but people, when they think of this product and this outcome, they're going to think of our company. So it's just very different the way you go about helping those people grow. We do a lot of business growth stuff.
And you hit it on, like the listing is like your house or like it's your office, or we talked about it here. It's like you got to have your listing all set up or no one's going to buy. So your fee and your work that you're putting behind it. I mean, you can't invest $1,600 in something and it's going to be there for life, and you're probably in the wrong business.
Yeah. My favorite quote from the last year was like, if you don't have the money, welcome to the first lesson of entrepreneurship, figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't tell clients that, but it is up on my Facebook page, right? Just as kind of a thing like, okay, you know what? It's not my job. That's why I have that free training program on YouTube, is for the people who are like, they're really seriously bootstrapping it. Like they are in the depths of despair. Anybody can go to the library and access YouTube. Okay. So you can go to YouTube, take notes, write your listing. If you're like on a seriously tight budget, there are ways around it. But the question is, do you have the tenacity to go and follow through all of that? And then you come back and hire somebody who can actually power it up with the things that they can't even share in a video, like how you get in that flow state, right? So it takes practice, right? So, and again, I didn't mean to be flippant by saying that, but but that is the first lesson of entrepreneurship. Like my first business was picking up rocks so people could mow their lawns, right? Nothing is below me. Nothing is above me. Like if it's what it's going to take to get there, it's what it's going to take to get there. And you just do it, right? There's no excuses. You can have excuses, or you can have, or what was it? You can have, I'm trying, I actually rewrote this. It's not excuses, but you can either have reasons or you can have results. Like a reason is just an excuse, right? So you can either have reasons or results. So if you can't afford to hire somebody to do this, go to the free trainings on YouTube, take notes, write your listing, put it up, test it, see how well it works for you. Look at your competitors, tweak things, read about positioning. Like the library is still free I don't know, are you guys in the US? The library's still free all over the US,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing stopping you besides how you spend your time. So if you choose to spend your time and no sweat off my back if you want to spend your time 8 hours a night binge watching TV, that's great. But then you can't turn around and say, okay, well, I tried. You didn't try. You watched TV for 8 hours a night, and like you could have been consuming videos about how to grow your business for 8 hours a night. It's the same thing. You're still staring at a screen. Just take notes and then implement it, right? Sorry, I feel like I'm going off on this weird.
No, this is great. I love conversations like this. And you brought up the law of attraction, and that's where I'd love to get you back on and down the road again, just to talk about that. I mean, that mindset.
That's my favorite topic.
I love it. I'm a big, I don't know, I don't want to say believer or whatever you want to say, but the law of attraction is real, and it puts your mindset in the right place and things happen. So like you talk about, that's where that tenacity comes from. If you can get in that mindset, anything's possible. So I'd love, that's a whole nother, we could talk like 9 hours on that, because I get super. Can
I mention one thing, like one serious thing I downloaded from the universe to speak about that? Okay, so in terms of that, right? So you're talking about action. Okay, so people will go through the training and they'll take action to be like, okay, I took action. Okay, there's a difference between action and inspired action, right? So if you're the kind of person who is into the law of attraction, you know that you need to take inspired action. That doesn't mean sitting there and making yourself do it. That means thinking in your brain, like, okay, for me, sometimes if I can't seem to hone in on a listing, like I said, I'll get up and dance. My inspired action is to turn on a specific song, right? And then to go and make something to eat for like whoever is here. And then all of a sudden, like it just clicks, right? So go do something that you feel like is an inspired action to do. Bring a notepad with you and start jotting down things as they come out, right? So that's a huge part of that. Like that whole inspired action piece is like getting into that flow state with the law of attraction. Like you're being sent inspired action. If you think, okay, I have to do this now. And I was very regimented with my schedule, and I was bleeding my soul dry, and I was dying on the inside. I could not do it anymore. I tried that whole, like, get up at this time and do this and this and this and this and this these times. I'm just not that person. I'm like a very flowy, creative entrepreneur type person. So like try that. People, when they feel stuck next time, like that is where your inspired action can come through. That's where the words can come through. Maybe that is your flow state. Your body's telling you, I really need a paleo scramble right now. Like, that sounds delicious. And you already know how to make one. And so it's not something you have to think about. You just automatically do it and it feels good and it's creative. So go do that and then keep a notepad there and start jotting things down. Almost every hypnotic anchor I've ever created was literally channeled through the flow doing something completely ridiculous, right? I was not sitting down writing sales copy. I was literally doing something completely different. Like, I think one of the better ones I did, like, I was making ice cream for my kids. I just felt like making ice cream for my kids. And so I went and made like coconut ice cream for the kids, right? And all of a sudden I had this huge block and it just like flowed out. And I was like trying to keep the ice cream maker from exploding because I stopped paying attention to it while I'm jotting down these notes, right? And these hypnotic anchors. I'm like, okay, this is the positioning. This is amazing. This is awesome. So, yeah. So, I mean, and we can definitely talk about law of attraction on another one, but I mean, I can go into that. I have a whole nother, that's like my major passion besides, helping families grow their businesses. So I can talk about that forever.
Well, we can tell you're passionate about it and it's exciting. And we'd love to do it. Talk about that too, because it's a huge interest of mine. And I fall in and out of it. That's all the time. I'm like,
everybody does.
Good at it for sometimes and then not good at it for other times. But
yep.
So anybody who's listening to this right now, and I mean, they've got to be fascinated. I'll just say something real quick. Kris and I are working on a project right now where we're launching a product live on Amazon. We're doing all transparent, kind of like a documentary, the whole process. But this changed my mindset because we have had so much fun with this product. Like, it's like we're like kids again, and all the kids in my neighborhood are and when we get to the point where about now we're writing the listing, everything that you've said, I think it reinforces how we should write the listing, because we probably would have been way too analytical if we hadn't had this conversation. And if we can just express the amount of pure joy we're having with this thing, it's exactly
skyrocket.
What it should be. So
yeah, and get the kids involved. Definitely get the kids involved. Be like, what do you guys love about this? And say, okay, tell me all the things you love about it. I do this with my kids when I'm looking at a product. Like, okay, clearly, like I am not a big, what were those dang things? Squishies, I think is what they were, right? Like little, this client sent me these squishy things that are trendy, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, this just looks like another thing that would come into my house that I would never ever want to see again. It's going to end up in the garbage, more pollution. Oh my gosh, poor sea lions, And my daughter comes around the corner and she's just like, oh my God, it's a squishy. And she's 12. Okay, so the pitch, I can't even hit the pitch she hits. But her level of excitement helped me to get into that level of excitement. And people, just in case you don't know, 12-year-olds have debit cards now. My 11-year-old has one, my 8-year-old has one, and they all know how to shop on Amazon. They all have their own Amazon. Yeah. So if you have a kid's product, sell it to kids, get them excited about it. You know what I mean? Like if it's a higher price adult type, like if it's a family product, sell it to the adults. But I am not below selling a squishy to a 12-year-old teenage girl who's going to shriek so loud your ears pop. That's who it's made for. Their parents might hate it, but at least they didn't have to pay for it, right?
I agree. I see that with my kids. I get on my Amazon account and I'm like, what? There's 5 things in the shopping cart. I'm like, what are these? And
my son, oh my God, my 11-year-old has an Amazon wish list that has $25,000 worth of items on it.
Oh my God.
And that is his vision board. And every time he wants to go and make money, he goes and adds things and looks at things and removes things. And he comes to me like, Mom, what can I do for extra money? He has gone around, he and my daughter, I'm slightly embarrassed they did this, but he and my daughter and my younger son went around and picked flowers out of our yard and sold them to the neighbors. They went and offered to mow lawns. Like, they've been knocking on doors. And I had one of the neighbors text me like, do you guys need money? I'm like, no, we never, I can't remember the last time I needed money. I think I was 16, right? So and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, your kids are going around selling services and, and they come back and I'm like, okay, guys, you got to talk to me about this. We got to make sure what we're doing is above board. And they're like, okay, yeah. So we said, we're going to pick up all these sticks. I'm like, what'd you charge? And they're like, $2. I'm like, you got to charge more. What is wrong? Yeah. This is a commodity. Nobody wants to go out. It's going to be 105 where I'm at today, which is a breaking record in Belton, Washington. I'm going to be at the lake right after this, sitting there with my laptop working because it is way too hot, right? But nobody wants to go out. That is a serious pain point. I live in a golf community, and so you have to keep your yard a certain way, right? I don't 100%. But other people are kind of obsessed. They're afraid of the security coming around and like telling them, knocking on their door and saying, you have sticks in your yard. There's residue. They call it residue. So I'm like, remind them about security and residue and then charge them $10 to pick up all the sticks in their yard. You guys are going to go broke walking around charging $2 to pick up sticks in people's yard. Make it hurt a little, You're giving up your childhood here. So,
that's so good. That's so good. Hit the pain point of the people that need their sticks picked up. Exactly.
They
I love
need
it.
those sticks picked up. It's embarrassing if security shows up. Not for me, because I have 5 kids. I already know they're going to show up.
Yeah.
Someone's going to inevitably leave like their bathing suit bottom in the front yard at 8:00 at night. It's going to happen. They're going to be like, Di. I'm like, yeah. Can you get the kid? Yeah. Okay. We're on it. Sorry.
That's so true. You get a little bit more laid back when you have kids because it's
way more laid back.
For sure. Well,
you can't control that beautiful energy.
No, you can't. But for anyone listening right now that would love to get in touch with you, would love to work with you, tell them where they need to go and how they can get in touch with you. AmazonSalesGuru.com. Okay.
Is a good one. And there's a help desk there, and that goes straight to my team. And then if there's something they can answer, they'll answer it for you. If it's something that's more strategic, I answer all strategy questions. So my team consists of people who each have like a broken piece of a job. None of them handle strategy, consulting, or the actual sales copy side of it. That's all me. Right. So, if you have a question about packages, they can answer it. If you have a question about, like, okay, I'm stuck here. Can I send you my listing? And, like, I don't know what to do. And we tried these 10 different things already, and I can take a look and tell you what to do. That's pretty, most of the time. Sometimes we have to test things. Sometimes it's like, well, if you've already done all that. And then I find out a lot of times they didn't quite execute 100% of all of it. They just kind of tamper,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, AmazonSalesGuru.com is the best way to get a hold of me, or Diane at AmazonSalesGuru.com if you need to speak to me directly. Everybody in my house is signed, and on my team is signed an NCNDA, so there's no competition. None of us sell on Amazon for that exact reason. So I used to sell on Amazon and stopped doing it because of that, because I felt like I was competing with my clients. It didn't work. So I know how to sell on Amazon, but I would rather write the listing. I like that part better. I don't like logistics.
Yeah.
Shipping makes me cry.
Well, it'd really make you cry right now.
No kidding.
$4,000 for oh my gosh, for like a carton.
Yeah,
you guys, we need to start pooling all our resources together and sourcing from like Mexico, Canada.
Seriously.
Like DDK. DDK is who I want to say Microsoft and Apple use in most of their products. They use DDK. I want to say coolers or chips or something like that. They're in Mexico. Why aren't we sourcing from Mexico? They're not going to charge us $4,000 to ship. Like, let's just do this.
I'm on board with that. I am on board with that.
Pool our resources. Get another country on board.
Let's get it started right now.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage everyone who's listening, if you're looking for help with your listings, or if this just sounds fascinating, which it was fascinating to us, and you're looking to upgrade your listings, definitely go to AmazonSalesGuru.com. Get in touch with Diane. And Diane, we're going to have you on again. We're going to talk about the whole mindset. I love it. We'll have.
That sounds like so much fun.
I can't wait. We'll do it. But Diane, thanks so much for coming on, and thanks everyone for tuning in today. If you love content like this, make sure you're subscribing to the podcast. We're on every podcast platform out there. So go to your favorite one, find 2 Amazon sellers and a microphone, and subscribe to it. You can also follow us on Solozo's YouTube channel and Solozo's Facebook page, where we go live almost every day with a podcast episode. So we'd love for you to be there as well to see all this great content, meet great people like Diane with super cool stories and tons of energy. We love it, Diane. Thanks for everyone listening.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Amazing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.